in your seats and we're going to start.
I was running, but I had to come downstairs at heels and I just wanted to break my leg.
We are live. We already had something to down those stairs.
Exactly.
The treasures.
Exactly.
Okay, we are live. We are on, this is Senate Finance. This is April 10th. And we are beginning our long march. Try that miscellaneous tax out by the end of next week because the budget is coming out and the money in miscellaneous tax is integral to the budget. We have 3 or 4 bills right now that are all intertwined financially. And if any one of those blocks doesn't make it, the whole wall comes down. So we're trying to get all of them out. Yeah, so today, and in between, we're going to try and get some of the other, not mostly ed finance bills out. So today we're taking up H 898. It's an act relating to copper-based to fiber-based telecommunications network transition. And Hunter, you're with us today. Yeah.
Oh, for the record, Mr. Thompson, Director of Communications and Connectivity with the Public Service Department. I'm here to testify on HB 98 and provide the department's position on the bill. The department is in favor of the transition from copper to fiber technology. This is a technological transition that needs to happen. We think the notice portion of the bill is okay. We think the battery reporting and the study portion of the bill will offer substantial benefit, as they did not solicit the needed information to draw the conclusions that are being asked to be drawn. We mentioned that the State Energy Office already has a program called the ESAP, or Energy Storage Access Program, which is funded with a total of about $7 million copper-related revenue. This is a program for finding battery backups for low-income people. So there is already a program on the base.
So I was trying to find you who don't have anything on the website. I'm looking.
Well,
I have things from 898. FCC copper retirement report order.
No,
No, he did. This is from Kim Gates. I've just. Okay, okay. I've got us past my house. Last thing. All right. So you are saying that there already is.
so I'm saying that one of the things in the bill that has passed was asking the department to do a study to determine whether or not a battery backup program for low-income people was appropriate.
Okay.
And I'm saying the State Energy Office already has a program called the Energy Storage Access Program, which is funded with $7 million from ARPA-related revenue. The program has buy-in from Green Mountain Power, BEC, BIPSA, Burlington Electric, WEC, and the project is focused on residential storage. At a high level, the overview is battery storage will be offered at no cost to residential customers, and funds may be used to cover a portion of the needed residential electric service or service panel upgrades. So
what is the program called again?
it is called the ESAP, Energy Storage Access Program.
Then ask the question.
Yeah.
If it's funded with ARPA, I think that has to be all used. I think 26 by the end of this year. Is that going to be all used by the end of this year? And
For that to the State Energy Office, I'm not sure that is.
Okay.
I asked them if they have programs that do battery backups. And they really have this.
they told you about this one, okay? Because it sounds like it's a short-term program if it's an ARPA funded program.
And one question is also it's unclear, looking at it will tell us as to whether it's limited to certain utilities as opposed to widely available,
Well, this
given
is,
how it was funded.
this is from, right? This is talking about from wire. It's strict. This is strictly going from a wire phone to a voice over
Internet.
internet.
So,
Okay, but it is funded by ARPA.
yes, the battery backup program. I bring that up because one of the things that the bill has passed by the House asks for the department to do a study to see if it's appropriate to stand up a program to offer battery backups to women.
Okay, so we should probably have the state energy office come talk to us about the funding, the stability of the funding. Okay, you know who we should contact them?
Melissa Bailey. Melissa Bailey,
Melissa Bailey.
yes.
They don't seem to have an actual website on it. It sort
Okay.
of comes up in various weird instances,
places.
but not as a, like, this is a program.
Well, we will have them come talk to us. This ASAP, all right.
One other thing I would like to flag in relation to HB 98 is on March 26th, the FCC approved an order. There's a section in that which preempts the state from anything that is mentioned in the section 214 discontinuance authorization notice. So that's something to keep in mind. I'm not a lawyer. I have asked the lawyers within the department to look at it, but I think it bears review by legal counsel to see if any of the stuff that is in 898 is explicitly preempted in the FCC order, which was passed on March 26th. I will provide written testimony, and I'll make sure I include a link to that.
Then we'll get it and we'll get it.
So to get into specifics, so I testified on this once. Then the department's in favor. The issues we take are related to the battery backup study and the battery backup metrics, which are asked to be sent to the department. So the engineering department of the public service department compiles a document on electrical outages. The numbers from those as it relates to the state of Vermont is referred to with the one that I'm going to talk about is the CADI or 80 number, stands for customer average interruption duration. So when I testified over the winter to the House Energy and Digital Infrastructure 2024 data review, 24 data showed roughly 3.78 hours as an average across all the providers. There were some slight outliers, with a few of the smaller municipal utilities having outages, average outages of 7 hours, 6.9 hours, and 6.75 hours. Since then, the 2025 data has been compiled and the average outage across all of the providers is under 2 hours, 1.93 hours. The outliers at this point are all under 8 hours. They're 5.3, 3.1, and 3.7. Another thing that bears mentioning is that even in the event of a power outage, only a wired landline phone will work if it's connected to copper. If you have a wireless phone, not like a cell phone, but a wireless phone that plugs into the wall and plugs into your phone jack as well as the handset, power outage, that won't work during a power outage because it's not covered in the day. Likewise, medical devices that have a base station that is tapped directly to the phone line, unless those are getting battery backup or some other source of power, won't work. So I know line power is talked about a lot. We talked about the transition from copper to fiber, but even then, there's a fairly small subset. So if we continue to work, then power. The specific issues is on page 507, subsection E. It's related to the voice service provider reporting. I don't think that the information that we would get from 911 is accurate to draw the conclusions that we're being asked to draw in the report over down. It talks about the 911, let me see here. Something for the active people who have opted. Oh, that's the next one.
Hunter, can you speak up just a little bit?
I can.
That air thing going.
I mumble, I apologize.
It's okay.
To keep service during a power outage, to draw conclusion from the people. So this is the one about, the utilities reporting the number of people who opt to buy a battery backup directly from them. I've also flagged that this is no longer FCC requirement. The utilities are no longer required to sell a battery backup directly to the consumer. That was a requirement, I think, up until last year when the sunset finally happened. It's my understanding that a number of these utilities don't offer battery backup to purchase now, and they expect people to go out to their chargers or to other places to get them. So To draw a conclusion from the people who opt for battery backup and noise, the people who have full house generators, power walls, or some other non-direct purchase battery backup solution. For example, I have a friend out,
Pretty expensive backup.
yeah,
Battery.
I have a friend out in Washington Electric territory who uses power enough.
Yes,
That's
I'd say Washington Electric is
Sorry,
famous.
they got one of those, it's basically a giant battery that they keep and they plug their sump pump into it. So when the power goes out, they find the sump pump to be the most important thing to run in the house. When we're getting gallons of it. They could potentially move that to the fiber home if you needed, but again, even that is no longer a FCC requirement. They don't necessarily think there's a lot of value in that.
Can you send us your report so we can post it and then go back?
Absolutely.
Because there's a lot of FCC numbers and stuff.
Yeah,
I
I send corrections. The second piece of this is again, page 5 of 7, subsection G, which is department monitoring, using the information on the originating carrier and electric power company reports that are delivered to P911. So the electric service provider outage reports that are sent to E911. They don't have a root cause. They have pretty equipment, whether other no outage or internally generated. The one from 2025 only includes information about Green Mountain Power. So once again, the data that's being solicited in that section is not really enough. It's
Not.
or granular enough to draw the conclusions that the report asks us to draw. The originating carrier report, which is a report from the telecom on the outage. Also, it doesn't necessarily include the reason for the outage. We have everything from power and no service. So once again, the data we're getting is not granular enough or consistent enough to draw the conclusions that are asked. Final piece, and I think I'm going to say this probably one more time. Is a department report, again, not granular enough, and the statement of the office already has the ESA program, which has more money than I could see ever getting thrown at battery backup specific to voice. I know $7 million. It's not a small sum of money. So one of the things that I think again is not applicable is that the public service department really is. We believe that we're already doing a lot of what is required. Again, on page 6 of 7 in subsections H1 and H2, consumer education and outreach. The department is currently, every time we get one of these notifications from a provider, a press release goes out to our website. That press release bufers out to the main state of Vermont website in the announcement section. It includes links to our website with a page about the overarching page about the popular fiber transition, which includes links specific to each petition on the FCC site, links directly to the FCC site about the transition. We have a section about power outage and battery backup. We have a section which speaks to the need to check medical and auxiliary telecommunication devices to ensure they work as a provider. And we have a section on how to prepare for the transition, as well as contact information for the department, a direct link to the CAPI department and the complaint reporting line. So we feel that we're already meeting a lot of the requirements that we spelled out in sections H1 and H2. And finally, it talks about outreach in that section. We've already done outreach. We reached out to the Vermont Telecommunication Relay Service CARE and asked them if they knew of any way to outreach to populations that may need more assistance with this. They reached out to Dale, the marketing agent, and they said they didn't know on a specific matter. They had programs to assist with this transition. They also do direct advocacy whenever we're approached on this topic. We spent a fair amount of time with a person in Morrisville who's getting transitioned from copper to fiber. Their primary concern, this one kind of gets me hooked up, was that their deceased wife had left messages on the voicemail, and we were able to get very personal attention from Consolidated through us to work with this person to get those voicemails extracted, put on a CD and sent to this person so they can keep them in perpetuity. So we're always happy to do direct outreach when it comes up. Final thing I will mention is that we are and have been working with Consolidated Fidium and parallel with bill on an agreement. It's being drafted. There's already rough agreement, what it includes, and it includes those notification periods, it includes 120 days and 30 days, as well as separate communications related to the need for battery backup to keep VoIP service going during the power outage, and the need to test to confirm that auxiliary and medical devices work on your VoIP service prior to completion. So I think everybody is waiting to see what happens with this bill, to see if that is a path that gets pursued. But just so you know, that's something that.
Okay, so you're working on it, but we're waiting to see what we require them to do before committing to what we've been working.
Yeah, we're asking them to do something very similar to the notification portion of the bill. We have
Tell
consolidated.
The providers.
the providers. Yeah, can I ask a question? Thank you, Hunter, for your testimony. I'm looking at the Public Service Department website on copper to fiber phone service transitions in Vermont, which is what you mentioned, yeah. I'm wondering, and you may have said this, but I'm wondering how you're working with, well, Dale, and then maybe area agencies on aging and sort of people on the front lines that may have a lot of clients or users who could be affected if you're doing special outreach to those organizations.
So communication through Dale was through the VTRS care, and we just got back that they didn't have any specific navigator programs available for those populations. We have not worked with other central community action groups to help to look at ways to offer a navigator program.
Well, I'm not specifically talking about a navigator program, although I'm all for lots of different kinds of navigators. Let's navigate. But really just outreach so that people understand this transition. I just think of someone like my mom who's deceased, but when she was here with us, this would have all been really confusing to her, and to be able to have information working with those organizations that might be seeing seniors or other people who have both medical devices or may not understand technology as much, having information for them, even if it's not a full navigator program, it's just outreach to those organizations.
Yep, understood. Currently, we don't do direct outreach, but I think it's the time to do something like that, reach out for our services to help.
Yeah, I think that might be helpful. And if you're not comfortable with some of the things that are in the bill, maybe at least doing some of that outreach, and I think that would be helpful.
We at some point went from electric to VoIP. Don't even remember when, probably when we signed a contract with, but from our end, there was no noticeable change. It's not like your service is going to go out and it's going to be 3 days before it's back in, kind of thing. It should be fairly seamless. It's done pretty regularly when you sign up for Fidium or Consolidated, and you put VoIP on along with your cable TV, or you take cable off anymore. The issue I think that concerns people is that when the power goes out, your phone also can go out unless you know and you have battery backup, which I don't know. I know I'm supposed to have it, but I assume the battery is somewhere in the phone or in the, that to me would be, where do I put the batteries and what are they?
My point.
That's, I think, that I thought was what we were trying to make sure everybody knew. Right now, if the power goes out, I guess my phone, if I'm on copper, my phone would have kept working. But frequently, when the power goes out, the phone line also gets taken down.
Yep.
It's usually, it's not a car hitting the pole, it's a branch, and everything comes
And
down,
your cell phone might not work as well because your internet is out.
is out.
Yeah.
So we know, and when the lights go out now, you check your phone and it's not working. When the lights go out after this transition, your phone might be working for a while if you have battery backup. If you haven't charged your cell phone, it's not working either. And when we got into this issue last time with notification to E911, and the concern was that this is not a fail-safe system. I don't think it was ever promised to be fail-safe. This is Vermont. We have snow, branches come down, and systems go out. So I think this is just, at this point, trying to make sure it's, because we are going to fiber, that as they go, that people have the tools that they need. I think most people who are dependent on medical devices at this point should have some kind of a battery backup because the electricity goes out. If you're being monitored over a phone line, then that's going to go out and you should have some kind of backup. But I think, isn't that what this bill is trying to do? Make sure people know when that person comes and disconnects and reconnects, which you may not even know they're there, that you need to be notified you're now on point, and you need to be notified that your phone, if my old phone, do I need a new phone? If I were on a landline?
No, your phone, your existing hardware should work. I would also like to reiterate that the notification portion of this bill, the department takes no issue with. It's only the subsequent report that we are asked to do based on what we consider non-granular, incomplete information
Okay,
is what we object to. We have no issue with the notification requirements.
and it
says
sounds
send
like
the
that's
notice,
happened.
make sure it goes out at, at this cadence, make sure it includes stuff about the need for battery backup, make sure it includes stuff about auxiliary devices. We take no issue with that portion of this, bill.
Okay,
We
so-
take issue with the subsequent portions.
It sounds like we need to make sure we haven't violated any FCC commandments. It sounds like with the information that's sent to 911, you don't have enough of the right kind of information to do the report that goes into this. And I remember the discussions about reporting and time frames for reporting, and it takes a half an hour to get a truck out there to put this, to even get to the cell tower to find out what's going on. And unless there's been a major problem, I'd just soon not have to go through that discussion again. So, okay, so we need to go through this. Is there anything, any level of reporting you could do with the information? I don't want to start having to ask utilities in the 911 board should get or report more unless you think it's necessary.
I don't think it's necessary. I think we get adequate reports on power outages. I think we get adequate reports on telecom outages. I just don't think those pieces of data are able to be put together to achieve the report that this bill requires.
Okay,
And is it just the report? That's paragraph,
Yeah, that's,
um,
I'll include the pages and the exact.
I-
numbers in my- yeah.
yeah,
paragraph I, you're concerned with I want to do. What about the department monitoring part of it?
So we had, concerns on, E, G, I, and then H 1 and 2. They get out. I know that that's one concern, hard to go through these. But,
Yeah.
but I will do this, I'll get this typed out, because this is
Thank you, that would be helpful.
about 6 pages of notes.
Yeah.
I'll have to-
I guess. The base question is. If we're gonna require people to report more. What good is gonna come out of it? I mean, is knowing. That a tree fell on it, or somebody hit a phone pole, or. What are we learning? Why are we asking people to collect the information? Other than some of us.
I don't necessarily want to presume the intention of us having the digital infrastructure, but they don't sense that one of the things they would like is for the department to decide whether or not a battery backup program for low 50 is appropriate and to make that recommendation. And in response to that, I say the state energy office already has a funded battery backup program through the energy storage and access program.
Okay.
That is larger than just.
So you can't really decide.
Funded, so that's the thing.
Well, we're gonna have them in and find out what kind of funding they have. And what. I mean, if we've got a program. Then it would probably be easier to fund that program. Than to ask the department to write a report to tell us we need to fund a program. And then, once that program by then will be dismantled and we'll have to reset it, so. I
Agreed.
Yeah. We guarantee people a lifeline. I don't know. I mean, how often did these batteries run out?
Are we have other witnesses, so
Yes,
we might
do.
be. yeah.
Okay, this is down to the basics, all right, so we're gonna hear from others.
I'm afraid.
Okay, helpful. So we're gonna go to Dan Burke. So, Dan, you heard the questions that come up.
Thank you, Senator. I'll briefly introduce myself. I'm Daniel Burke. I'm a staff attorney across the street at the Public Utility Commission. I do work on telecom matters, and so I'm here on behalf of the commission. I do not have any prepared testimony or documents to hand out
That's fine.
today. I'm really here to answer any questions that they may have on this call.
Can I ask the question?
Sure.
So we just heard from Mr. Thompson that there was some FCC. Fine. Something order, that's the word I'm looking for, that just came out. That this bill might interact with in some way. Do you know anything about that?
I do. I've read the order.
Okay.
I've not done a detailed analysis of the order.
Okay.
I think where your questions are probably going, I've not done an analysis of whether or not anything in this particular bill would be preempted by that order. That order does have very strong preemption language.
Yeah,
And I read that order to be directed largely at states that have independent carrier of last resort obligations, which is the obligation to provide service to every address within your service territory. Vermont does not have a statute that does that.
okay,
Some states do. I think Minnesota was one of the states that was cited in that reference, and I would expect there will be litigation around that issue going forward. Some of those states have those laws in existence. Vermont, we do not have one of those laws, but the carriers do have an obligation to provide service to all addresses in their service territory through a federal, I should say a joint state and federal designation called an eligible telecommunications carrier. So if you are an ETC, you are able to participate in the federal high cost support program. As the commission makes designations as to which companies become ETCs, and once you get that designation, you're obligated to provide universal service within your service territory. And the companies in Vermont that have that designation are the traditional telecom companies, the old landline companies that descended from the old Bell, the original Bell companies. So Consolidated is the large one, but it's also, I think we're going to hear from Franklin. So what we call the infant or the incumbent local exchange carriers. So that's
Yes.
and we'll see the
Yeah, Waitsfield Telecom.
Waitsfield Telecom is one of them. VTEL down in southern Vermont is a large one as well. So those companies all have an obligation to provide service. What's happening now is companies are transitioning from the old traditional copper lines to the fiber networks. They, for obvious reasons, don't want to pay to maintain their copper networks once they install fiber. So the FCC process that we're talking about in this bill is once they've overbuilt their copper lines with fiber, they're transitioning the customers over to the fiber, which has created some friction points in some areas, I think particularly with older generations that are used to what you've identified, which is when the power goes out, my phone's going.
Yeah.
And that's really the nut of the issue that I think has created concerns, especially some of the representatives in the House that this bill forward. As a practical matter, and I think Senator Cummings identified this, if you get the service installed at your house and you pick up your phone, you as a user will not notice any difference. You by and large can continue to use the same phones. I think, the phone that's sitting right over there is probably a VoIP phone. So you pick it up, you still hear dials on the usual, there's still push the noise.
It's just turning power
It's
up.
just, yes, and it's just how, well, the mechanism, the technology for transmitting the signals is different. It uses IP technology instead of, sine waves on a common wire. So that's what's going on. But to your original question, I cannot say whether or not this bill, I'm not prepared to say this, whether or not anything in this particular bill on the notice requirements would be preempted. I don't think that was the target of what the FCC was doing based on my read of it. That's not to say a carrier like Consolidated wouldn't shoot merchants. I don't think you'd have to hear but it sounds, at least from what I heard from Mr. Thompson saying earlier, at least Consolidated at some levels working collaboratively with the department on trying to cure some of the issues that have come up with those.
Okay, and so the problem we're trying to solve is that when the power goes out, those people that are used to their phone going out at the same time are going to pick up their phone if they think to do that, and it may be running for at least as long as the batteries hold out. And we want to make sure that they know that they need, because most people don't want their phone to go out, that if they don't want their phone to go out, you need to get X kind of batteries. And this is where you put them on the phone. Or I don't know, is it the box and, where, and I knew about this issue. I still haven't taken the time to take my phone apart, which probably wouldn't be a good idea. Where do you put them?
I think my understanding, and Mr. Thompson would probably be smarter on the technology than I am, just an attorney, but I think you can buy handsets that have batteries installed within the base of the handset. Am I correct on that? Sure.
Under the record.
Yeah.
Public service department. Oftentimes the batteries need to power the ONT. Kim will be able to speak to this in more detail.
Okay.
If you can hear me, but they're actually at the point of entry where the fiber optic cable comes into the house and they power what there's a fiber optic situation.
Okay, so that's what people need to know, where to put, where to get the batteries, what the batteries are, and where to put them. And hope that they aren't buried under snow when we go to put them in. Okay,
I think that Ms. Gates is testifying, that you can probably talk about how the telephone companies have been doing it.
okay,
I think that point, these phones will use optical equipment, basically lasers, to transmit the signals. So those need to have an electric charge.
okay. All right, questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Senators.
Is Barb Nino not in the room? Zoom. Barb is online. There she is.
Hello?
Welcome. We haven't
Hi.
seen.
Yes, I'm sorry. I had a little trouble hearing you. You're ready for me to get going?
Yes, we are.
Okay. All right. Well, good afternoon, everybody. I am Barbara Neal, Executive Director of the Enhanced 911 Board. I'll start my comments on H898 by simply saying that the 911 Board doesn't have any concerns or about it or objections to the language in it, including the requirement to for originating carriers to notify the 911 board when they're doing these planned transitions. That's fine. What we do with that information is actually we put general information on our website that links to the Public Service Department website, which has the more granular information about all of these transitions. But we do have a little placeholder on the website for people who have questions about these copper to fiber transitions. We don't have any concerns about the requirement to provide the quarterly reports to the Commissioner of Public Service. I did note Hunter's testimony about the concerns over the granularity of that information, and I can go over that in a minute so you understand a little bit more of what those reports have and don't have. And I'll just add that, there's been a couple questions here about the possible federal preemption. And so I'm aware of that. I've made Maria Royal aware of that at some point a while ago. I can't comment because I'm not a lawyer, but I just note it that it is something probably for legal folks to take a look at and better understand. So for context, our rule governing outage reporting requirements for originating carriers and electric power companies does a few things. It requires voice service providers to notify the 911 board of outages that meet certain thresholds for duration and customer impact. And the thresholds vary based on the type of technology used by the originating carrier. So wireline carriers, which are the ILECs that were just referred to by Dan and the RLECs, so the traditional wireline telephone service providers in Vermont, are required to report outages to us that last for at least 30 minutes and that limit or prevent 25 or more of their subscribers within a town, typically, from completing calls to or communicating with 911. So 30 minutes, 25 or more subscribers. All other facilities-based fixed voice service providers, and these would be your VoIP providers, must report outages lasting 30 minutes or more that limit or prevent their 100 or more subscribers in a single zip code, or 50% of subscribers within a zip code if there aren't 100 subscribers there from completing calls to or communicating with 911. So it's a little bit lower, I guess that would be threshold for reporting from those carriers. And then finally, wireless carriers are required to report to us when they have outages lasting 30 minutes or more that limit or prevent subscribers in at least 50% of the carrier's coverage area within a single zip code from completing calls to or communicating with 911. And all those thresholds were hashed out with the carriers themselves based on the technology and the metrics that they can use to evaluate an outage. Let's see, I'm jumping ahead in my notes here a little bit. Wireline carriers have been required to report outages in essentially that same threshold that I just mentioned since the inception of the 911 system. VoIP and wireless carriers weren't on the ball field at that point, right? And they have not had outage reporting requirements at the state level until this rule went into effect, which was 2019. They did have FCC requirements for reporting outages to local 911 authorities, but they were much, much higher thresholds. The outages had to be huge to even generate any kind of report to us. So going back to the report, the initial reports from all carriers must be received by the board within 1 hour of the carrier's discovery of the outage. They must provide us updates when there is a significant, meaning more than 10% increase in the number of customers impacted. And they must provide a restoration report to us within 2 hours of the event resolution. When we get these reports, the 911 board provides them to our 6 public safety answering points, to Vermont Emergency Management, the Agency of Digital Services, and any dispatch center or first responder entity that has requested to receive them. And that's currently 6 dispatch centers outside the public safety answering point system. The rule also requires electric service providers to report to the 911 board on a monthly basis. This will speak to some of the granularity concerns that Hunter mentioned a minute ago. So on a monthly basis, electric service providers report to us on all outages affecting 25 or more customers in a town and lasting 8 or more hours. And as these reports are not in real time, we don't distribute them beyond our office, though they have been released in response to requests from the Department of Public Service. So that's why. So it's a monthly report. It only includes outages of 8 hours or more, and I believe Hunter made a comment about there not being a root cause in those reports. That is true. We do ask the carriers, the electric companies, for a cause, but it's listed generally. I looked at the report before I came on. It might say tree or lightning or weather, which really doesn't need a root cause analysis, I suppose. There are some notations about an internally generated outage, but we do not investigate these outages. We don't request additional detail on them. And so, that could speak to the concerns about granularity as well. In 2025, the board received 599 originating carrier outage reports. So those are the telephone service outage reports, and 153 electric power company outage reports. As I mentioned, the rule was first adopted in 2019. It was updated in 2023 to clarify certain requirements related to status reports during an outage. And with that, I think I've covered all my prepared notes, so I'll defer back to the chair for questions as she sees fit.
Okay, committee, any questions?
Hi, Barb. It's so nice to see you.
Likewise, good to see you.
As you were going over those outage reports, I had like a strange deja vu. But I'm wondering, thank you for this information. Do you have any specific concerns or changes recommended for the bill itself?
I do not. I respect what I heard from Hunter, though, I didn't look at those requirements for the reporting with the same eye that he would have. We're happy to provide whatever information is required to the extent that it's useful. So no, I don't have any recommended edits to the language.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Other questions? Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
We're going to go on to Brett Bowden.
Good afternoon, thank you.
Good afternoon, and I believe you're new here, so we
Well, I'm wearing a new hat, a different hat.
okay, we just ask you to introduce yourself, who your new hat belongs to,
Yeah,
and then the floor is yours.
thank you. Rick Bowden, I am the volunteer advocacy coordinator for AARP, Vermont. And I'm a retiree myself and live in Burlington, Vermont. And I'm here to represent AARP Vermont's position on HA 98, which we support. Vermont is an old state. We have a lot of old infrastructure and we have a lot of older people. AARP advocates for people over 50, but really for everyone to be able to age in a manner that they wish to age in. The communications infrastructure, the landlines that many people in rural areas and older people have are often the only means of communication that they have. And it's something that is far more than just a convenience to them. It's something that is absolutely necessary for them to be in touch with family, with friends, with their doctors, and so forth. So as the legacy copper system is retired and we transition to fiber, it is crucial that people have information about what's happening, basically. And so that is AARP's position on page 98. We are page 898. We are supportive of all of those aspects that are providing information about the potential impacts to telephone service, to whether there's going to be a reasonable comparable service that you're going to receive, that it is going to be what your options are for the availability of backup when power goes out. This information is critical for older Vermont's and everywhere, but in rural areas especially. I think it's crucial, we think, to recognize that H898 doesn't prevent network modernization. We are definitely in favor of that. It is a matter of being sure that everyone has the information. And I'll just point out to the discussion that's been going on here in the committee this afternoon about, well, where is the battery? What is the battery? What is the connection that actually has to be made? Do I need a new phone? Do I not need a new phone? I think we're all pretty intelligent, switched on people in this room. There are a lot of older Vermonts who may not have a computer, may not have a connection. And so reaching out to them with the information that they need to know what's happening during what may be a very easy and common, but to them scary transition is crucially important. So AARP Vermont respectfully urges the committee to support 898 to ensure that our older Vermonters are informed about what's going on. Thank you.
Okay. Then you do.
I did, but Ruth had her hand up.
No, you go first.
Five,
Five
two
more.
Half a second before me. Greg, thanks for coming in
Yeah.
and speaking to us. You obviously heard the conversation about
Yes.
study, and there seems to be a I don't know if it's a disagreement, but a question mark about whether the study in the bill is necessary or if we should just go ahead and do the funding. Do you have anything to say about that?
I can't comment on that. I'm not prepared to comment on that aspect.
Thank you for your testimony. To the comment that I made earlier about doing more engagement with like senior centers and et cetera, do you think that would be helpful?
I think that'd be an excellent idea.
Okay,
It's having the passive information that people can go to is tremendously helpful. That's great that information is available. But I think that all we can do to reach out in an active way to inform people about the transitions that are coming is what's at core what we are supporting here at 898.
Who would organize the communication? Would it be the Department of Public Service or the PUC or?
I think it's the providers, it's a
Provider.
My understanding was that it was the providers
Yeah.
that would provide that information.
The providers, but the department also has some outreach mechanisms. to-
Yeah, it's on their website.
Yeah,
Other
and
things.
getting that information to organizations, I think would be helpful, and Hunter's Body is headed back there.
Oh, good, okay. Like in Burlington, going to the NPAs or, you know,
Right.
something equivalent to that.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Other questions?
Thank you for the opportunity.
And next, we have Kimberly Gates from Franklin Telephone. Right? Is she on Zoom? And she's on Zoom, yes. And we have communications. Welcome. Yes,
Just making sure you can hear me okay?
we can hear you just fine. Just introduce yourself to the record and we're off and running.
Okay, for the record, my name is Kimberly Gates. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm part of the Independent Telephone Association of Vermont, which is comprised of GoNet Speed, which is Shoreham Telephone Company, TDS, Topsom, VTEL, Waitsfield, Champlain Valley Telecom, and Franklin Telephone. And my title is the controller at Franklin Telephone Company. But my job description is a little bit of everything from customer service, accounting, legislative, regulatory, network design, CO tech support, customer installs. I've been there and done it all. So I'm in a unique position to answer questions for you today. Franklin Telephone serves less than 900 lines in parts of Franklin, Highgate, and Sheldon, and we're located up on the Canadian border. Franklin Telephone Company was started in the 1890s by my great-grandfather, and it was started so that his store, the Farmers Exchange, could communicate with the railroad company. So the Farmers Exchange and the railroad and the telegraph are all gone. The iron wires that were strung by 10-pin insulator poles, those have been replaced by copper wires. And for over a decade, we've been replacing the copper with fiber wires. I haven't purchased any new copper in over 10 years. And the fiber network provides the state-of-the-art broadband and a more reliable telephone system, in my opinion. The ILECs are eligible telecommunications carriers, ETCs, and carrier of last resorts. And we have building mandates by the FCC to get fiber in our network built out. We are required to provide voice services to all locations in our service territory. Figure out the best way to do my notes here, sorry. So the FCC came out with I think it's an order a couple weeks ago, and I'm not a lawyer, but our read on it is, the FCC just wants all the networks on fiber, and they reduced a lot of the restrictions. The faster we can get our network switched over, that's what they're encouraging. There's language in there on jurisdiction that the FCC is stating they have jurisdiction. We provided you some information on that. I'm not the legal expert on it, but that's my understanding of it. We've been converting customers from copper to fiber for over 10 years. We don't really see the need for this legislation. We continue to provide dial tone to our customers. Our customers want to plug in a phone, pick it up, and have dial tone. That's what they want. It doesn't matter about fiber or copper, or if they're on remotes. The battery backup does need a little more educational piece, but I'll go into the battery part now. So a little show and tell. So this is an ONT. Sorry, somebody else is going to get that, but it's probably going to ring again. No, they got it. Okay, so this is an ONT. The fiber comes into your house and plugs into this box. And this box is plugged into an electrical outlet. From this box, you have a cord that goes to your modem and you have a cord that goes to your phone. If this gets unplugged, your phone's not going to work. If the power's out, this is not going to work. When we talk about a battery backup, the unit is the ones that we sell are located very close to this, and they're a little bit, they're almost the same size, just a little bit bigger than this box. And they'd be mounted on the wall typically. They can have up to an 8-hour battery life. But it's only going to power this box. So if you have a cordless phone, you might still have dial tone coming out of this box, but your cordless phone isn't going to work. If you have an emergency alert system that's plugged into an electrical outlet, it'll still be dial tone, but it won't work because those items aren't powered. So that's part of the information that people need to understand. I don't believe this bill really, it's an educational piece, but I don't see that this bill does anything to explain that fully. And each house is different. And we'll get customers, my phone doesn't work. It's, your electrician was working on things and they pulled your meter and that's why it didn't work. So when we talk about battery backup, that's what we're talking about.
Can I ask a question about that? Kim, that's really helpful. Do you do any kind of, when you install the fiber in somebody's home, do you go in and explain this to them and show them what they need?
We do. So when we first started installing these, the boxes were bigger and they came with a battery. We have, that was 10 years ago. Over time, those batteries die, lose efficiency. We've never replaced one of those batteries. And I have only sold one battery to a customer. So I haven't had, I haven't seen a demand. And when you explain to a customer, you can put a battery backup on this, but your other devices aren't going to work. Then they understand, so, and we also have some customers that have generators up here, but we do try to explain that to the customers.
And do you feel like there's a need for more community engagement in your area about it? Or do you feel like people know what's going on there?
I think they know, and our technicians explain it when we do the installs. Part of the bill, haven't quite got to it yet, but part of the requirements, this bill requires us to give 4 notifications to the customer and to the department and the PUC. I have to read it again. 120, whatever. The FCC says we just have to give 1 notice 90 days. So I see it in conflict with the FCC mandate. Our problem is if we, and I was talking to a customer on the phone today, I said, as soon as the ground thaws, you're on the list to get to fiber and stuff. But if we start giving customers notice in 120 days, they'll call up and I'm ready today. So it's in our company, it's an expectation. We don't want to send out the letters and then have everybody ready this week and we can't provide it in this week because of scheduling and stuff. But that's what we run into. When we notify a customer, they're like, I'm ready today.
Yeah. Okay.
Or in 120 days, I will forget what you told me.
Yeah.
Senator Meadows.
Kim, thanks. I'm just curious, what's the battery backup cost?
I haven't looked that up lately, and it's been a while since I've bought one. They're like 120 would be my guess. And that provides an 8-hour battery for just a phone that's not powered by electricity. And we also tell customers, you can also go to Staples and buy a battery backup unit and power up more than one device.
It's just a little UPS basically, right?
Yeah, it's just a little UPS. So cool. That's what the battery backup is. And sorry, I don't have one to show you, but it's almost similar in size. So let's go back to my notes where I forgot everything I was going over.
Sure.
Always helps to talk to people on the front line.
So part of the legislations, went over that, better back up. So specifically to H 898, section A2 is I think it's completely debatable. There's a section in there that that fiber service isn't as reliable as copper, and in my opinion, I find it more reliable that when there's an outage, such as a power outage, I get an alarm notification and I can see and I can narrow down to where there's an outage. Now, I can't tell if a tree ripped down my wire or if there's a power outage, but I can narrow down the section. I can never narrow it down with copper. So we have in a way, we have a faster response time because of the notification that we see when this little device goes missing, we can see that. So I find fiber to be more reliable, and it's a newer network. Our copper plant is, older than 15 years. And in Vermont, when you get water in the line and squirrels chewing fiber and more water in the line, it's challenging. I have a big problem with section 6C, the definition of VoIP. And VoIP in this legislation is used a lot, and so technically all of Franklin's telephone company customers, whether they're on copper or fiber, are provided using a VoIP private network. It's an internet protocol network. This legislation, I think what you're really getting to is voice services over fiber connections. But the VoIP is used interchangeably throughout this document, and it's not accurate. Section 6D, that we have to give the notification by first class mail and email. I don't have everybody's email. Oops, sorry.
How do you communicate? If you don't do the email?
First class mail.
We call them, most of the time we just knock on their door and talk to them.
Okay.
That's the easiest way. And you can explain what will happen. You'll explain how the wire comes in. It needs to go near an electrical outlet. The price stays the same. The service stays the same. It's just the newer wire. And if the power goes out, it won't work when the power goes out.
Right, but how often do you have the power go out and your phone line isn't down too?
When you're on fiber, when the power is out, your phone line's out.
But when you're on copper,
When you're on copper, it is up as long as our main offices and remotes are up. So a remote is electronic equipment out in the field mounted on a pole or ground mounted.
okay,
And in my case, Franklin's case, we still have 5 remotes out in the field, and most of those remotes have 2 customers on them. So the amount of time and effort, to make sure those remotes stay powered for those 2 customers, and they are all scheduled to be replaced and gone to fiber this year. That's our hope.
if your electric wire goes down, but the copper wire that's usually strung on the pole next to it doesn't, so maybe the squirrel chews one and not the other. You have a fiber-based remote or that can keep the phone service going.
Yeah, I think you're making the water muddy here, but the remotes are all fiber fed, but they also have to be powered.
And they're powered with batteries or with the electric line.
Well, trick question. Mine are actually powered. We power them over the copper telephone pairs.
Okay,
You asked, that's how we do it.
so
I'm the
people,
techie you've been waiting for.
I'm trying to figure out, I think people need to know that unless there is a power outage, they may see a technician changing wires and you'll come in and put a box. But they're gonna pick up their phone and nothing's gonna change
Correct.
until there's a power outage. And when there's a power outage, unless they have battery backup, and now it sounds like, are there batteries? There's batteries now connected to the phone that will provide 8 hours of service.
Mm.
And we heard that the outliers, that's about as long as we've seen. We did the one town that was out for a week a number of years ago, but for most, do the phones you're putting in have batteries connected to them now that will keep them running during a power outage? Or do they need to buy $120 extra piece of equipment?
So in Franklin's case, the battery is not provided. They would need to buy that battery. And in the dozen plus years we've been doing it, we've only sold one battery.
Okay,
Do you have any customers that have like medical devices that have become an issue because of the transition to fiber, that rely on phone lines?
Not that I'm aware of, but every medical device that I can think of plugs into an electrical outlet. So if the phone's not working, their medical device isn't working either.
Yeah, I'm thinking of the like remote alert thingies.
Yeah, the life alert button, like I fell and you push the button. Those, to my knowledge, those plug into an electrical outlet. So even if the phone line was working, if they don't have power to the rest of the house, those are not going to work.
Got it. Okay, I see what you mean.
the heart monitors that go home with people that have devices are plugged into an electric outlet. Not
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the medical devices, think of them like a cordless phone. If it's not plugged into the electrical outlet, it's not going to work.
Okay. So the bottom line from your testimony is that you don't think this is the bill in its whole is necessary? And you're already alerting your customers or notifying your customers when there's a transition from copper to VoIP?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, I just want to make sure I'm characterizing your testimony correctly. Okay, thank you.
I think we're running out of time. The important thing in this bill is if the carriers are for some reason not notifying their people, and I can't imagine they are, but if they should not be, we need to tell them, you need to notify people. And maybe 120 days is a long time. But you need to notify people the change is coming. This is what it will mean for you. It sounds like newer phones, you have to buy a backup battery. And if you have medical devices, you should check with your healthcare provider or whoever you get that device to any impact that they will.
Can I ask him another question? I mean, a whole bunch of people, you said that you've already transitioned a certain percentage of your lines. Do you have any ideas? What percentage have you already transitioned from copper to VoIP? I think you said something about it, but I can't remember.
There's different ways to do the numbers because I have a summer seasonal base, and so that skews the numbers that way. Looking at it, it's 70% are on fiber, which I think is low, but part of that is there is a apartment building that skews the numbers, and there's an RV campground that skews the numbers.
I love Vermont, man. I'd be like, well, the RV. Thank you. So I mean, if you're at 70% or thereabouts, do you think that's about where most other carriers are at too?
Yeah. I think so. And our plan is we'd really like to be pretty much finished with the conversion by the end of the year. If, Mother Nature finally gets us summer.
So this is most of the transitions actually already happened.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Your phone doesn't work if you get cable, right? Because that's VoIP, isn't it?
That's VoIP.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what we're talking about.
I have cable. I also have a generator, so I guess cable limits, VoIP.
Yeah. I can only remember once my power was out for an hour or two. I live in a big city. If I lived out in the middle,
This is the big city.
yeah, if I lived out in the middle of nowhere, I would probably have a generator. Especially if I had medical equipment that was dependent on it. It doesn't sound like people in Franklin, which is pretty rural. Maybe there are some more rural spots, but it's rural enough for Vermont. They are not buying the backup battery, and I'm sure they're doing a cost benefit about the cost of the battery, the backup to the to what their needs are, and they have a cell phone, and so okay, we are right on time.
Can I just say,
Yes, go ahead.
so I just also part of this bill is I really don't want more reporting requirements. I'm still trying to figure out last year's tax changes and their impact on us and our consumers. So I don't see the need for any more reporting.
Heard. This committee is not known for liking reporting.
No.
Is the chair is on my welfare. I'm like,
Oh, my God. 6
Okay.
reports in one bill.
all right. So thank you, Kim.
Thank you very much.
Talking to people in the field.
My victor. That's right.
Really,
I'll be right back. I need to get
okay.
This Franklin telephone has been noted, by the way, in a number of reports for being one of the most advanced tiny and this is for an absolutely tiny telephone company.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to know talk to me. That they're goals. But yeah, they've been here before, and they are impressive. Okay, we are going on. Oh, yes. Hillary is here.
Hillary?
Yeah.
Hillary's here.
Hello.
Okay, Hillary, I've given you a whole half hour.
Unlikely that you'll need it, but you have a
Well,
lot of
my
questions.
sense is we've already done this bill under an no.
Correct.
Wasn't it DMV?
This is giving people that are detained the driver's license. We're looking at the fee. I believe this is where the non-de minimis term, we couldn't find anything that was non-de minimis. From. So you give us a really quick walkthrough,
Happy to.
especially if anything that's different from the bill you already passed out of here. I'm assuming somewhere they will meet and meld.
In theory, they have already met and melded. Danny and I found one word difference that is not.
Did we even have to pass this out?
I think it is unclear whether this language is moving forward in S.
Okay, so we'll pass it
2026
out,
on
let
that.
secretary, for both bodies figure out what happens. Okay, perfect. So,
All right.
quick walkthrough.
Perfect. For the record, Hillary Cheddar Ames, Office of Legislative Counsel. This is H 549 as passed by the House, the same that came out of Senate institutions. And it proposes to provide individuals leaving correctional facilities with non-driver identification cards, replacement operators licenses, and replacement learners permits. So it's expanding current law in 2 ways. Currently, only folks who are sentenced to 6 months or more can get non-driver identification cards at no cost. So this would allow people who are detained for 6 months or more to get non-driver ID cards. And it would also expand current law by allowing both folks who are detained pending trial and sentenced for 6 months or more to get replacement licenses and replacement permits at no cost. So that's the very high level overview. It is the same language as in S 326 and the miscellaneous motor vehicles bill. Other 2 things I would just highlight are that it has 2 processes for individuals who are sentenced. They get the cards at the time that they leave the facility. And for individuals who are detained, they get a packet of the required documents when they leave the facility, and then they have to go to DMV, or they can go to DMV to actually get their non-driver ID card or license at no cost.
Okay, and that's same in both bills.
Correct.
So what was the one word difference?
The 1-word difference was 3-word difference, non-driver identification card after one of the references to real ID or non-real ID. So not a substantive change.
Is that
is one.
It's added in one?
Correct. It was not in S 326 and it is in H 549. So I ran a red line for Senate institutions, and if anyone would like to take a look at where that shows up, happy to share.
Okay, committee questions. Thank you for taking time.
Glad it was so straightforward.
Okay, we took more time the first time we did it. Logan, you wanna come up and tell us if you found something that was not de minimis?
For the record, look, we're at the joint fiscal office. There is a fiscal note on the committee page, on the bill page. It's the same. It's the first 5, 6 sections of the DMV bill. There is de minimis impact on state revenue, given that it's expanding it to a relatively small number, I think less than 50 a year. Revenue loss. These people would normally have to pay. If this went through, they would no longer pay. It's less than a couple $1,000. De minimis impact, same as in the DMV bill.
Ready for motion?
Wait, what's this? Wait.
It's the bill we already did.
The bill we already did.
Well, we did ask something, this is H 549, it's giving driver's license, IDs.
Oh, it's in
to-
another bill?
We already passed it out. It is where the term non-de minimis got coined.
I walked in right as Logan was saying de minimis, and I was like,
It has a couple $1,000 impact, but it does help folks that need help coming out of jail and getting back to constructive life.
Will this go back to transportation committee? Or
From institutions, is that what
it
it?
came from institutions, right?
Correct.
I gotta go back.
No, it came-
House transportation.
I don't know, make a see it.
No, the way it goes is, it goes to the committee of jurisdiction first, and then it gets sent to us under Rule 31, because it affects the revenues. If the secretary didn't send it, and he probably didn't because he knew they'd already done it, that means it's coming to us under Rule 31 or whatever the secretary is using. And I don't think it will go, but they've already done it.
That's exactly what I thought. It would go to transportation.
I don't think it will. Not if it's here, because we are usually the last
One of the last.
last one. It comes to us under 31 if it goes to another.
If you ask for it, sure that
you could go there, but I don't know why they'd want to see it if it's language
I
we already.
think they have enough on their plate right now. We will be hearing from them. I have been hearing from the chair on a regular basis.
You don't have a warrant for a vote, but did you want to move it?
Yes,
Possible vote.
I would vote favorably H549 as received from Senate institutions.
okay. Nice, send that down. Senator Chittenden has moved that we approve H549 as it was sent to us from the Senate institutions.
So I heard
Correct.
it went to Senate institutions
It went
instead of
to-
transportation because it's people incarcerated.
Okay,
Yep.
that makes sense to me. All right, so we are getting it done. Further discussion. Are there any amendments? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Don't you
want to roll? You want to hold
roll on this one?
Well, if you, I would say all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. That carries 700. Senator Chittenden, you did the original, right?
Maybe.
Was that?
I'm happy to.
I thought you did as a former member of
think I
transportation.
probably
I think you did.
Sure.
So you could stand up and say this is our second go round and
Minimus.
this is de minimis and life is good. All right.
Do we want to vote on the other two right now?
Other two, what we got? 710 and 940. I don't know about 710. We've got to listen.
That's my schedule.
Yeah, Ned. At 710, I was told by Vermont Renewable Energy that there was.
Scott, exactly.
What's it, the other one?
I know, but Scott's right, we need to listen to the testimony.
We have her down as 15 minutes. If I can't rein her in, y'all can get up and leave and then,
We're still alive.
We're still.
And then-
That's.
I mean, and I've given her 15 minutes and just, I think 5 documents on the website.
Oh, my gosh.
So I don't, we can all read those. I'm gonna try and. But. Let's go off.